Today I'd love to tell you why I love collecting toys and why collecting toys is destroying my life. Where do I even begin? Because I have a ton of things I could say about this. I'll just say this to start off. At some point, when you're so big into the hobby, at some point you stop owning things and things start owning you. At some point, when you're so obsessed, so deep into the hobby that it stops being less of a hobby and more of a just full-time job. Like at some point you just stop being happy and you're just doing it to do it. Like you're just trying to get fulfilled, trying to fill that void, and it just never quite satisfies you, you know? Being so into the hobby, knowing from experience, knowing all this stuff myself, and just being so familiar with so many other collectors on the internet that, like, not all of them will admit it or fully show it, but I can tell that so many of them, they're just kind of miserable. You know, they don't have God, they're not saved, they're just buying things, trying to fill voids, trying to just find that satisfaction that just can't work because we're not designed to be satisfied by things. We're designed to be satisfied by God. That's literally how He made us. How we get our fulfillment from Him, not things. And so it doesn't matter how many things you keep buying, that next thing won't make you happy like you think it will. Believe me, I know. It's not like I haven't tried. And it's not like I've never stopped believing in God, but there's been times where I wasn't putting Him first, and I thought, well, buying this will make me happy because that's really shiny. I like it. You know, let me just tell you, you don't need a floor to ceiling wall of Funko Pops to be satisfied. Believe me, I've tried, and it just takes up all your space. That's something that I don't think it's talked about enough. When you hoard this stuff, you don't have space. You need space, you know? It's so important. I wish I understood that before I bought so much stuff because I stopped having space and I couldn't breathe. Space is more important than having tons and tons of things. If you have so much stuff, you can hardly enjoy most of it. And if you're one of those inbox collectors and keeps them sealed so they preserve their value, well, just invest in the stock market. Like, what's the point? Like, sometimes I don't open things, but I don't know. I don't know anything about stocks, and, I like toys. It's fun. It's like art, you know? Like, I'm not talking about yo-yos and frisbees. Like, there's definitely, like, you would be surprised how many adults collect toys that are marketed towards adults, like collectibles that are highly well made, it's basically art, you know? Because I know so many people are quick to be like, oh, you're an adult collecting toys, grow up. Well, for one thing, God tells us to be like little children, and I know that's not what He meant. I'm kind of just kidding about that, you know. His point is more like in your heart, to be like loving and all of that without needing a reason to love, you know what I'm saying? And all that, um, because adults, they don't love like children love, you know? But yeah, when I talk about like buying toys, I'm not saying just like generic little whatever toys. Like, I'm talking about like cool stuff. you know, like kids aren't buying this. This was $200. This was something that you had to pre-order a year before it came out. You couldn't buy this in stores, and it's like got like 25 points of articulation in each hand alone. Like, this is something only adults get, you know? Not that kids can't technically play with it, but my point is, it just drives me crazy when people say, oh, that's childish to own any toys whatsoever. It's like, Guys, please. We all have our own hobbies. We all have our own things that we enjoy. Why is that so bad to enjoy that? But it can be bad. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that this is perfectly harmless until it isn't. Because at some point, you love that more than God, and then it's idolatry. And idolatry is evil, it's wrong, and it needs repented of. It needs turned away from it, and you need to stop loving that more than God. And I struggle a lot with that because, unlike something like murder, you know that you did sin. You knew that you murdered. You knew that it was wrong. But it's so much harder to be like, okay, at what point does it start being idolatry? Because it's not like any specific moment. You can't look at a chart or a graph or something. It's just like, it's just in your heart, loving it more. And it's just so much harder for me to like I struggle a lot more with idolatry than I do murder. Obviously, I don't struggle with murder. Don't misunderstand me. That would be really bad if I was struggling with that. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much harder to deal with things like idolatry because there is no easy, quick way to measure that. It's just all in your heart. And I wish it were a lot simpler, but it's just, if you feel convicted, repent. If you feel bad, if you feel like you're replacing something with God, repent. It's not necessarily about, did I do something more hours than I spent time with God? Because, it's not necessarily about the amount of time. It's just in your heart, But chances are, if you are spending more time with something, that there is a good possibility that that thing is an idol and you find that more important than God. But, in another type of toy is this classic toy, and I know you're looking at me and you're like, so you're telling me, oh, this is cool for an adult to own because it was intended for adults to own. But then you show me this, and it's like, this is a baby's toy. Why are you really gonna... I know. Hear me out. It looks like a baby's toy, but it's not. Technically not. This isn't even a toy. This was never actually made. Actually, it says made in Russia. What? I don't know. I got this from a guy who custom makes these, so this wasn't like a real product. I don't know how he did it, but it's like he made these in the Troikas. They're replicas from very, very minor characters from the first Toy Story movie. It's like an exact replica. But like, that's like another example of something that's not a toy. Like, it's only for adults because they're like really like handmade, custom, expensive pieces of art.